2:05. I think we're in a good spot. Tracy, welcome. Terry, welcome. Very cool. Okay, well, welcome to our creative connection. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your Saturday. And for some of us, it's a 3-day weekend, so we could be somewhere else. Apparently, Anne Marie's in a hotel, so she's a traveling person. So thank you for taking the time. Today, as I was mentioning, Terry just coming in, that talking about spirituality today was a inspiration that we got from our last creative connection. And before I go in, for those who don't know me, my name is May McIntosh. I run things at the Creative Sober, just kind of keep it within the space of creatives and artists who are on their journey of or on the sobriety spectrum. And so what I'm finding as we develop or grow this space is that there's topics that go beyond then of just getting sober, right? So now I'm a sober artist, what's next? So I'm trying to listen to that intuitive nudges. And it's amazing that I'm able to be part of something that creates connection, which is the whole point of all of this. So usually I don't outline these spaces because it's meant to be a safe space where you can be yourself. And as I mentioned, you can unmute your mic because I encourage cross-talking, just so that when you get those inspirations to say something, it's there. So yeah, it's about connection, less about direction. So we are going to talk today about our spiritual journey and what that's looked like for us as artists or creatives on sobriety. Before we do that, let's do a quick check-in. If you feel comfortable, please introduce yourself. What is your focused creative medium, if you have one? And then where are you hailing in from?
I'm Jenny, and I'm an artist. I use different mediums, whatever I feel. I'm calling myself an intuitive artist now.
I like it.
Yeah, I'll just say that. And I live here in Maryland, closer to Baltimore, in a cute little small town. And I'm a massage therapist and a yoga teacher. And I just had the grand opening of the yoga studio yesterday, my first Friday.
Congratulations. Oh my goodness. Yay.
Thank you. Thank you. So that's the big news. Yeah. Right. Yep. Got memberships and yeah, everything's good on that part. So that's who I am.
Thanks, Jenny.
Yep.
I'll go next. Jenny, we're neighbors. I'm also from Maryland, Silver Spring. I'm Anne Marie. I use she, her pronouns. I'm not in Silver Spring right now. I'm on the East Coast at the beach. My little brother is getting married tomorrow night, so I'm here in Delaware to celebrate him and his wife. Yeah, I'm a writer. That is my art. I'm also a recovery coach for folks on the AUD spectrum. And I'm also a spiritual director. I just finished a course through Seton Hall University that was a certification specifically for recovery and spiritual direction. And I was so excited to see this topic come up because I find in my own practice that it's like folks are really needing a safe space to explore spirituality and sobriety. And it's just coming up more and more. So I feel like it's like the next frontier for a lot of people to talk about and to find spaces to explore things. So I'm so happy to be here.
Nice.
So I'll jump in. My name is Judy. I am a conscious creative health coach. I help women 50 plus to navigate like what's next in the second half of your life. You know, your kids have left. You're feeling maybe like you don't know what's going on. You spent your life serving your kids and now they've moved out and they don't have any time for you. So what are your passions? What are you hoping to achieve in the next half of your life. My sobriety journey started about 3.5 years ago in the rooms. Well, I guess not quite 3.5 years ago, in the rooms of Overeaters Anonymous. So I have a bit of a 12-step background. At the same time, I started studying A Course in Miracles. And so now A Course in Miracles is my main focus of spirituality. I am an artist. I dabble in a lot of different mediums and just create things intuitively when they come up.
I get it. I get
Thank you, Judy.
it.
Hi, can y'all hear me? Like, is my mic like loud enough? Okay, good. Well, I'm Terry, aka DJ T-Schneg. I'm from Tallahassee, and so my medium is DJ and production, and I am also a medic here in Tallahassee. So I just got my medic license last month. So that was like my big achievement. And so yeah, and so I've just been like working at EMS and also helping like May with like the DJ channel, and I'm really happy for that. So yeah.
Thank you, T.
Yeah.
I love you.
Yes. Good.
Oh, next, I guess. My name is Tracy. I am in North Mississippi, and I'm a writer. This is my first time in this space, so really excited to be here. I happened to be finding you on Eventbrite at 2 a.m. yesterday, so I signed up on a very last minute whim, and in terms of spirituality, I just kind of like it all. I don't know, I've always looked at, you know, religion almost like literature or something, maybe because I'm a writer. But it's just nice, but I don't have a like strong belief or something that I follow. So I'm just open, and I'm really glad to be here with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Thanks for finding us.
Welcome.
So I'm Brooke. I'm from BC, Canada. I'm a digital media artist. I do lots of graphic design, web design work. I also do videography. And I like learning different things like guitar. I just like being creative, jack of all trades kind of person. Lots of different interests. And it's hard. I love them all so much. It's hard to like focus on one. And I find they all serve me in different moments and different periods of my sobriety and different periods of my spirituality. Like music has been really influential for me, learning how to play different songs. I feel like, I don't know, help me process different emotions. You know, it's been really cool. There's been a couple of songs through my sobriety that just really felt so spiritually guided to me that I heard them, and then I learned to play them on guitar. It's just been a cool journey. Yeah, I'm also an intuitive card reader, and I think I already mentioned web design, graphic design. That's me. Thanks.
Thank you, Brooke.
Thanks.
So I guess that leaves me. No? Did everybody go? I hope my connection's okay, because I feel like on my end it's a little choppy. It's probably because I'm the farthest away from everybody. I don't know if that counts. So my name is Eline. I'm in Belgium. It is currently about 9:15 p.m. here, so it's quite late. So I've met May because I invited her to do an interview on my then radio show about sobriety. And that's really where my sobriety journey sort of began. which was about almost 2 years ago. So I've been almost 2 years sober. And other than that, my spirituality journey started when I was 8 years old. I discovered witchcraft when I was 8, and that's kind of where everything just kind of lifted off for me. And then, yeah, that led into doing studies in Eastern languages and cultures at university when I was 18. And now I work as a holistic coach with people in nightlife, with conscious creators, with conscious entrepreneurs, and really helping them prioritize their wellness and mental well-being so that they can really do only the things that move the needle, have sustainable success in music and in life and in anything that they are passionate about, and just really feel like they can live their most abundant life without feeling pulled in different directions. I've been doing that for 7 years, and I'm super honored to be joining you today and to be leading a small meditation moment for you towards the end of this call. And I really hope the connection is fine, because I looked like I was a little choppy and I don't know, maybe a little insecure.
No, you're good.
Okay. Awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone. And as I mentioned, I'm May McIntosh. My medium getting started into the creative sober as a DJ. Now I coin it as a position of, or frame it as a DJ when it feels good versus when it was part of my career. I got the calling, or I call it the spiritual awakening towards getting back to sobriety. For some of you, my story background was that I was sober for almost 5 years. I did relapse for 2.5, and then had my spiritual awakening of when this loud booming voice woke me up in the morning of July 1st, 2019, and said, May, you need to get sober. You need to quit this stuff, or you know what's going to happen. And there was this huge feeling of loss of if I continued this path of active addiction. So that was my pivot point. And so at 1 year of my recovery, I needed to recommit to my sobriety and what that looked like. And the first run of being sober, I gave up a lot of things creative. Because I felt that I had to divorce the two. I married them so hard that I couldn't find the separation of how the two could exist or coexist. Thank goodness for the internet and social media, which is a difference now. Sober Instagram also is that place. And so I was like, hey, let me open up a space. Let's call it the Creative Sober. Maybe I'll find some friends on the journey so that we can talk about sobriety and creativity. And here we are today. So thank you so much for creating the space that we have. It's a we thing, definitely. And it is nurturing, and I'm excited to be part of this next evolution of what that looks like, which is spirituality.
Nice.
Absolutely. So before we go into dive deep into this topic, I just want to respect everybody's time commitments. I do have this scheduled for 12 to 1. We are looking at, we're about 20 minutes in. Is there anyone that has a hard 1 o'clock or 1 hour break? No. Okay. Okay, so that kind of gives us a little bit of breathing room, because the topic that I'm going into, what is like synchronistic, is that next week I'm going to officiate my brother's wedding. It's the first time that I'm going to do something like that, and what the calling is for me to look at the idea of God. And I know that God exists and that there is a higher power that exists. I heard that voice on July 1st. Whether it's my version of my higher power or what it was, I just know it was outside of me and it was bigger than myself. And I'm finding that throughout recovery and in the community, just the conversations, And then even the type of spirituality that exists on all walks of life, I'm finding very specific versions of it that either I'm attracted to that person or they find me. And then we come together on this specific topic, which is different for me. It's very, very powerful. And I can't help feel that because I got sober, I can hear this intuitive connection through self-discovery and healing. And just to give you some background, I grew up Jehovah's Witness. So there was a lot of that in Christianity. Then after high school, I went to Zen mindset. And then I really dived into philosophy, and then went into like, I kind of break it up and see that during the Zen mindset and philosophy, that is when my active addiction was pretty high. And I think for me, it's because a lot of it also came from ego. And I wasn't fully connected to source or God, in that version of what you would call it. And so mindset shifted over to therapy. So therapy led me to sobriety. So that's where I'm like, okay, now it feels like the space for spirituality has opened. And then I see all your beautiful faces here. And there's like a common thread to it. So my question is, like, what are some of your versions of finding where you are today with sobriety, creativity, and spirituality?
Just over here nodding my head a lot, May, as you're talking. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, 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 all of it, right?
All of
Thank you for sharing that, because it's so powerful and beautiful. For me, it's been, I really feel like it's just been an evolution of my whole life. I was, cradle Catholic, born and raised Catholic. I'm still a practicing Catholic. I, grew up with just like I think I just had a beautiful dose of faith from a very young age that I believed in something bigger, certainly because of my cultural upbringing. But I fell in love with saints and mystics at 5 years old. I have a very strong memory of just like riding my bike up to our local parish, up to our church, and just like sitting on the floor, like where the pews were, and like just praying that I would levitate, like, because I had read about a saint being able to levitate. And I was just like, I want to do that so bad. I want to levitate. And just really, really fascinated with the smells and bells portion of my faith. That's what I call it, right? Like all of the sensory overload of being in a church with candles and bells and music and incense and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so my Catholicism really was the trajectory of my life for a long time, so much so that I entered a convent at 30 years old and discerned religious life. Long story short, it didn't work out. I'm not a nun. I stayed for about 6 months, and it was very clear to me that was not the path for me. But then I would say like as my drinking increased in my late 30s and all through my 40s, my spirituality really just diminished, right? It was the thing that was for me a catalyst in seeking sobriety, because I was so burdened and depressed and sad that this light had started to go out, right? This beautiful thing in my life had started to go out, and I could not get back to it. I was able to get back to other things, even while I was still drinking, spurts of creativity and things like that, but my spiritual connection was absolutely diminished. And I started to notice it like alcohol was just coming for shit, right? Like I was trying to get back involved in like church life and parish life and everything. And a friend invited me to like a weeknight Bible study, and it was called Thirsty Thursday at the Well. And it was like mom's night out with Bibles and wine. And I was like, fuck no. I was like, no, like there has to be safe space to explore God, right? Without drinking. So that was a huge catalyst for my sobriety. For me, I would say now that like I'm 5 years sober, almost 5 years sober, and in my sobriety, recovering wonder was a huge gateway into reclaiming spirituality outside of Catholicism, right? I'm still a practicing Catholic, but my version of God now is just so much bigger and expansive and doesn't fit in any one box.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Sobrieties and sobriety communities have introduced me to people, places, situations that I never would have experienced before. It has just blown the roof off of the idea that God can be contained into one doctrine or thing. Thank God. The roof's been blown off that. But really that connection, when I started in my recovery journey to connect to wonder again, the miracle of small things in daily life, that for me was just the gateway again to understanding that my God is present and available to me, and seeking me as much as I am seeking them.
Yeah.
And I find that for a lot of other people as well, like that place of wonder and being able to see like the beauty in one flower, right?
Mhm.
Is a really great place to start the conversation. Yeah, so that continues to be, I still love the saints and the mystics. I'm also right now just really exploring my own cultural traditions of Celtic wisdom and theology. After reading I read a book by Susanna Barkataki, who I can't remember the name of the book, but it was like really about exploring the very foundations of yoga. And it was like a postgraduate level class in like don't steal other people's shit, right? Like appropriation is shitty, is a shitty thing to do. Don't appropriate, like figure out your own cultural backgrounds. And so it's been a deep invitation to explore my Irish heritage and get back into my traditional, the traditions of my family. So that was a lot. I'm going to stop.
Thank
That's
you.
good.
Anne-Marie.
Awesome, Anne-Marie. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
So when I was a kid, we were raised Presbyterian, and we were taught that we were going to hell if we're bad, which is a really hard way to grow up as a kid, because you're afraid to make any kind of a mistake. You can't be seen as an innocent child learning and growing and expanding. You're always seen as someone who's bad. So when I was a teenager, I started exploring different religions because I knew there was something bigger than me. I just couldn't identify with this God that was going to send me to hell. I couldn't identify with that. I didn't believe it. I did believe it, but it wasn't true for me. I didn't want it to be true. So I started doing a lot of exploring in my teens and throughout my 20s. And then I gave up on a lot of the religious exploration and just kind of dove into like what they call new age spirituality, just like learning about meditation and all these kinds of things. And that's what kind of led me into saying I'm spiritual, not religious. And in my 30s, I picked up this book in my 30s and threw it against the wall and said, I can't do this. This is too much. It's too
rich. Yeah.
It's not for me. And I picked it up again in my 60s. I'm 63. I just turned 63. I picked it up again 3 years ago, and I've been studying ever since then. And I feel like it's my home now. I've always been, part of my spiritual journey has been like tapping into my own intuition, paying attention to the signs. Like if I see a billboard or I see a bumper sticker or a license plate that says something, and then I hear a song that connects with that, I'm like, okay, there's something here. The universe is communicating with me somehow. What's the message? And just like getting curious about what what the universe is trying to communicate to me, you know, as I'm trying to explore this bigger picture of why are we here, you know. So that's where I'm at today. And anyway, I'll stop there and let someone else speak.
Thank you, JD.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yep, thanks. Good. I guess I'll go. I guess I'll. So like I was raised like, you know, like mostly like in a Christian household. Like I was adopted like when I was like 1. And so like I just kind of like grew up in like the traditional like kind of like American like Christian household. They like you went to church up to date, so like that. And I was like really involved like in my like church and all that until like I was like 10-ish, and like my mom, you know, like mom got baptized there, my grandparents got baptized there, and then they all of a sudden just like left. And at the time I was like too like young to like realize, but like since I kind of connected with like some of those like older church friends and talking like, and like when like my mom and I used to like talk or whatever, like I kind of found out that like the church was basically like a borderline cult, and like it was like it was a lot of like gaslighting and like us. Essentially what kind of pushed it over for like my like mom is like with like they told her apparently that like, oh well, like since your like dad didn't go to this like church, like he's gonna like go to hell, and like he had just like passed, and like that was just like really hard. And like now like as an adult, well at the time as a kid, like we just kind of like left like the church or whatever. And then like when I was like 19, that's kind of like when my like drinking picked up. And so like now, you know, I didn't really do any type of like religious spirituality stuff like pretty much for the whole time I was like drinking. And so whenever I got sober in 2019, like I went back to like this like church I like knew, and I was like, okay, I kind of like visited and tried to get back in and try to get that spirituality. And then it was like really, I like realized it was just like really hard to like talk about like mental health, because like my mom passed in 2021, like right after my 1 year. And like I just like didn't understand like God at all. I was just like, this is the worst thing that's happened to me. And like people from like the church I was like, you know, friends with, they would come over and they'd be like, oh well, you know, let's just like pray, and like let's just like pray. And like it just was like when I would try to like talk to them about like, hey, like depression and anxiety and stuff like that, like it was like, oh, it was just like, you know, here's like the like God fix, like just like lean into the church and do this, not like, hey, like maybe you should talk to like a therapist. And so like I had to realize that like I had to find a sense of like spirituality outside of like religion. So I kind of tie my spirituality to like my like mental health, and that's kind of how I like grow that type of, you know. So I can go to like church and I can have that religious, you know, connection. I can have all the friends, but then I can also be in my spirituality, and I can come and have these type of conversations. I can talk to a therapist and kind of have that balance, I guess. And so yeah, that's it.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for sharing that. So much in there.
Wow.
There, thank you. Very much relating to a lot of your stuff actually. And the first thing that came to mind, what you said about like, first of all, I'm really sorry, my condolences for your mom passing away. the first thing that came to mind with me was the whole idea of like spiritual bypassing, you know, when you're talking about like you want to talk about your mental health and your feelings and your emotions and processing that and getting all of that out. I do see that oftentimes, not just, you know, in church communities, but definitely also in the spiritual community, where there's this tendency of spiritual bypassing, as if the universe, source, God, whatever, is just magically going to solve everything, whilst we're still here on this planet in this body for the human experience. So that goes with everything that entails. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there.
Yes, that's good.
Yeah, yeah, I find that with just because I'm mindful that there is different perspective of what God is and what religion is, what spirituality is. So coming from a place of understanding and compassion, and then also having a background where I did, you know, immerse in different versions of religion and spirituality. It's like easy, right, to cast a stone and like judge, because like, oh, well, that is not what I believe, or that doesn't feel right in my body, but it could be 100% for the person in front of you. And so how do we create that space where we can hear each other? Because I really truly believe deep down inside that it all comes from the same place, but it's created there for us to understand wherever we are on our journey. And so when I look at my past, I call it that I grew out of that version, and I still do it all the time. I do it with sobriety. What worked for me to stay sober in the first 30 days, 6 months, it doesn't work for me now. Like I had to grow into what works for me. And I find that spirituality is kind of the same way.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
I've also been just relating so much to everybody. And yeah, this is a really powerful meeting today. What a Saturday. I had a similar kind of experience, Terry. When I came into recovery, I was really far away from God. I was very much, was just coming out of addiction and, you know, not behaving in a way that felt good to me. I felt like, as hard as I tried to be a good person, I just couldn't figure it out. And, you know, I wanted to be somebody, but I was acting like somebody completely different. And so when I came into recovery, I went through a 12-step program, and they kind of just said to like, forget everything you know and live this way instead. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. Like, just get me out of this life.
Right.
And that kind of led me into church and going to Celebrate Recovery, learning more about Christianity. And I just let the path unfold in front of me and followed wherever I was guided. And then, you know, 2020 happened, and coming up to that, I was dealing with postpartum depression and being told by my community that medication was not a spiritual solution, and that it would be considered a relapse. And so I was struggling really hard with my mental health, struggling with being able to talk openly about what I was going through, because it wasn't super connected, like openly talked about in the church I was at. I found churches that are more open and welcoming, but just this particular one wasn't. You know, and I was trying to do all the things, be that good Christian and show up to all the meetings and be there for everyone else and think about others. And I found I became very disconnected with myself and there to support and please other people. Found me aligning myself with things that weren't aligned with my personal values, because I wanted to fit in with the group, the religious group. And when 2020 happened and everything shut down, and I was kind of disconnected from that and reconnected with myself and reconnected with like my higher power, my personal connection with God, it started to shift for me. And I slowly started to back away from those circles and find like what is actually true and authentic to me and my beliefs, and what I want to bring into this world, and how I want to show up for myself and for others. But for myself because I really lost that. Even in the 12-step program, it's really like get out of self and be there for other people. And it's a beautiful healing thing, but it also, there's got to be balance there for me, or I'm just like, completely empty. So in 2020, my little brother passed away, and it was just like really hard to trust what I considered God at that point. I was just like, I got sober because I believed that I got sober because I was going to help my brother get sober, and I was going to help end this like cycle in my family of addiction and poverty and all these things. And that, that wasn't the case. He lost his battle before he even got started. He was only 23 years old and tried something for the first time. And unfortunately it had fentanyl. So yeah, it was just like the most devastating thing. And I prayed so hard for him to wake up and for it to not be true and all these things. And I just felt like really disconnected from everything I believed about God, because in my head, he was this genie that was going to make everything better. It sounds crazy, but that's just where my head was at the time. And I started seeking out different paths of spirituality. I started seeking out mediums. I started seeking out like tarot card readers and things, just to find that connection, because I didn't have it anymore. It was gone. And I ended up finding like this blend of both worlds that works really well for me. Like I have a really strong connection with like Christ consciousness. I love Course in Miracles, like so beautiful. And I also find I get messages from what I consider spirit through like divination and cards and that sort of stuff. And I'm allowing it to just evolve, and I'm just going to keep myself in that space. Like there's a reason I think I was taken off the path I was on, and there's a reason why I found a new path. And I think there's some beauty in both paths, and I'm just trying to figure out what that is. But where I'm at right now is working for me. And I think, one thing I miss about church is just the coming together and like the worship, the music, singing together, like being in community with people that are seeking spirit. And I don't find there's a lot of communities like that outside of like church. And I think having meetings like this really supports that feeling that I miss, So thank you for having the meeting.
Yeah, thank you though for sharing that. Wow. I'll go. Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for sharing all these beautiful, like deep, soulful things, emotions, and all of this. It's amazing. So since we opened that door, my spiritual journey, ever since I was little, I was always trying to figure it out, spiritually. I got into witchcraft at first for a long time because that's all I really knew that connected with the kind of person I am, which slowly figuring out is mediumship and all of this, everything that you guys are talking about. So naturally, I was attracted to that lifestyle. Even as a kid, I was putting like marbles and crystals around my door and saying it's for protection. I don't know why, I'm like 8 years old doing this stuff. So, but later on in life, like fast forward, there's like traumas and stuff like that. Like when addiction started to really hit me with Xanax, and then like alcohol, and then other things, whatever I can get my hands on. That's when I started to, like towards the end where I did not want to drink anymore and stuff. I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. That's when I started to really connect with God, because I'm like, this isn't working right now. So let me just try. And I've always grew up like in a Christian household, not a strict Christian household. Like my mom totally understands, that kind of spiritual life when it comes to energy work and, seeing spirits. And, she's a realist when it comes to a lot of things like that. So I wasn't like kept down or anything. I still had it in me that there is God, except I just opened the door to him. And that's when my life started to change. And I'm like, okay, I'll just let him keep doing this. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, I might cry on this one. Okay. The only reason why I think I'm crying for this one is because it started to come up and my life is going so well that I can't help but reflect on where I came from. I got the two businesses, and everything's just going great. All right. But I had a fire. There was a fire that burned down my whole place. Well, last year. It's going to be a couple years soon in January. Wow. And that's when I started to lose just a little bit of hope. Just like I had that moment when everything was gone. And I was like, okay, God, I'm like, something big has to come out of this one, because I'm like, I thought what I went through with drugs and being homeless and everything and coming out of that was like, woo, and then life was gonna be like, wow, great, boom, boom, boom. And then he hits me with a fire. And then I'm like, what now? So I decided to lean on him because that's all I really had. I'm like, I can't do this one on my own. Who rebuilds their life, And each time I get more validations and stuff, but with that, I can still connect God with the spiritual side when it comes now to yoga and massage therapy, Reiki, all those like beautiful things that everybody thinks is evil, but it's all a part of us, but some of us can tap in stronger than others. Mm-hmm. And we shouldn't fear that. And we shouldn't fear that you're going to go to hell or, everything like that. So now that I'm comfortable in my space, I'm finding that life is now just coming together. Like I just let it go. That's all I did was let it go. And that's actually, it works. It's true. You read the memes, gotta let it go. You gotta let it go.
Yeah.
And then people read it, and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna let it go, but they don't. And it takes a lot of faith, and it works. And now I'm like, all right, I can do this. And if I run into a wall again, I just be like, hey, universe, divine guidance here, help me out. So I have a lot of trust in the universe and my kind of spiritual practice that I do. So yeah, there you go. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Jenny.
Wow, thank you.
Jenny.
Thank you.
Phoenix Rising.
Yeah, Phoenix, right? Literally, yeah.
Literally.
May was around in the beginning of that.
Yeah.
So she got to see that growth as well. And then my artwork grew with it too. Yeah, because all I did was draw and paint afterwards. But yeah. So, all right. Thanks for letting me share. I'm going to get tishy now, though.
I love her so much.
Thanks everybody for sharing so vulnerably. I really enjoyed hearing everybody's stories, and I could identify with little bits of everybody. I basically grew up as in my family was Lutheran. My mom was Lutheran, my dad was Catholic. So I went with my mother because we were like very gender traditional splits there in my family. And I did that until maybe 12 or 13. But before I stopped the church, from a young age too, was really interested in different, I don't know, mystical things or whatever, like witchcraft or out of body experiences or crystals and tarot cards. And then I got into like Eastern religion, starting with Buddhism, which kind of took me into more like Vedic traditions, what Americans call Hinduism, and like eventually studied that more formally in college. really just delved into the beauty of Vedic traditions, because it was just what called me. But that practice, that religion doesn't, it's not a proselytizing religion. It's like you're either born it or you're just not it. And so it was like, the thing that I love the most is not really for me or something, but I was able to look at it as such a beautiful thing. So, I went to India and when I was 21 and did some independent study there. And I went back about 5 years ago and studied with a Swami over there, and yoga, but yoga more not like the movement part, but like the meditation, breathing, pranayama type stuff. And now, since I've stopped drinking almost 2 years ago, I have reconnected with that side of myself. Like, I have tarot cards and pull them every morning, and I'm getting in touch with my intuition again. And it's funny, like, I got this gift for my birthday last month that it's like a Q&A book, and every day it asks you a different question. You just fill it out. And so today's was, where do you see your higher power, or where do you see evidence of your higher power? And it's like, well, here I am, right? Like, and that's the thing, like, stopping drinking to me was it. Like, the fact that I could be so obsessed with something one day and then just completely abandon it and never look back, like literally from, one moment to the next, it makes me think like there is something out there, like there's something bigger here, because how is that possible? Like, how is that possible? Doesn't make any sense. Like, I should still be doing what I was doing, and I'm not, and I don't get it. So, like, stopping drinking actually is almost the thing, like I tell people, like, it's almost the thing that makes me believe in God or something, because it's just like,
Yeah.
it's like, this is crazy. So I'm here in this meeting, like, about spirituality on the day that the question book asked. It's just like all of these little connecting things. Like you were saying, Judy, I look for these messages and they're all over the place. And also the fact that things always kind of work out for my greater good, which they truly do. I look back at my life and I see that happening all the time. So I just have to, like, trust in whatever is happening on some level. And I definitely see in nature too, like, this perfect order. I think in the pandemic, I just, like, that was the thing I went to, even before I got sober. Like, I just was like, okay, the world is going crazy, but like the sun is still shining, and like days and nights are still happening, and like trees are growing, and it's good. Like, it's all good. There's an order to things. So I look at that a lot too. And yeah, I'm kind of all over the place, but the fact is I just have a great love for all of it. And also I want to say I'm really okay with not knowing. Like, I do not need to know the answer. I do not actually, it's almost like none of my business. It's like, whatever is going on out there, I don't need to.
Oh, that's a good place to be.
Like, hey, I'm taking care of, and everybody else is, and I don't need the answers, and I'm okay with that. So anyway, thanks for listening. It's great to be here with you all.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
That's great.
Tracy.
Oh, that's a beautiful sweet spot there. Not needing to know the answer.
Yeah, it really, I like that. I need to write that down.
I know. I'm just gonna put that on my whiteboard.
Love it.
Wow. That's me. Everybody, thank you so much for sharing where you're at. And oh my gosh, Tracy, that's a good wrap up to that part of our conversation. And as you know, Eline is here. She's going to be doing a guided meditation with us, just to kind of bring in the energy and what we've shared. And leading into this meeting, again, I emphasize that this meeting is about connection, not direction. So there's no conclusion to it, right? right? So we're practicing, a lot of us here are messengers or teachers in our own right. And so here's a safe space where we can practice this dialogue and really like come from a place of compassion and understanding and love, right? So that is the goal for today on this intense Saturday. Thank you so much.
But it's so good though. It's so good.
It is. It is.
We go deep or we go home, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's really
Here's today.
Yeah.
Eline, I always get your name. I'm so sorry, Eline.
Okay, it's Eline. Eline, yeah.
Yeah, I'll hand it off to you. And
Awesome.
guide the group.
Well, yeah, so I was thinking to maybe start briefly touching upon a little bit more my journey into spirituality. I will try to keep it short. I will try. And when it gets started, sometimes I'm going like, blah, blah. But so I already touched upon a little bit that for me, it started when I was 8 with witchcraft. And the reason why it started there is because I come from an abusive home. There was a lot of domestic violence. There was sexual abuse. There was all kinds of abuse. And growing up with a Catholic family, I was like, okay, so either God is punishing me, which was something that we were taught, or there is something bigger than this. And I'm just meant to find my own path. And I didn't want to believe that God was this entity that was here to punish us or reward us, or divide us in that way. So that's why I kind of felt drawn to spirituality, to witchcraft, which then led me into Eastern languages and cultures. And then I discovered, hey, that's something that you can actually study at university, which I then did. And then I kind of discovered alcohol, nightlife, drugs over here in Europe. So that was kind of the downfall of my spiritual path. I think like a lot of us here kind of heard this as a common denominator. Alcohol, substances just takes your connection to source away. And it was definitely the same for me, coming from, I had like this really deep practice rooted in witchcraft and Eastern philosophies. And then all of a sudden I find myself not doing that anymore and being like, what is going on? And when I stopped drinking, I started to see things. I started to see shadows. I started to see things passing through my house. I started to see spirits. I got really, really afraid. I was afraid to sleep. I was seeing things all over every single day. So I just reconnected to one of my witchy mentors, a witch in the Netherlands that I have been in touch with for now more than 20 years, I think. And she just kind of taught me that this was a big shadow period in my life that I had to go through. And I just really needed to reconnect to my spiritual practice, which I started to do. And I started to give myself permission to really be all of me. And I started to give myself permission to share the things that I was experiencing without feeling shame or guilt or feeling crazy, because that was something that was coming up a lot for me. And that totally opened up a whole new world for me. I'm now working with different light beings. I'm working with dragons. I just before this meeting, I activated my Merkaba. I don't know if you know that, but that's like an energetic vehicle that you can activate that can do things for you, which has totally shifted my life in the past almost 2 years. My coaching training that I did, I'm a certified holistic coach. It's rooted in Gestalt therapy, A Course in Miracles. I'm also a student of A Course in Miracles, have been for many years. So all of those things really have given me a guidance system and a framework and a way to really deeply have faith and trust that everything is always working out for me. Everything is always taken care of. The better it gets, the better it keeps on getting. The easier it gets, the easier it keeps on getting. And these are like programs that I have running in the background in my mind every single day, especially when anxiety pops up, or when self-doubt pops up, or imposter syndrome, or all of these things that I am experiencing. And so I've also learned that, and I think it was Jenny who said this, that you're opening up to mediumship, or that's something that you're starting to feel. I can definitely relate to that as well. Like I'm starting to feel that more and more myself as well, like especially in my coaching sessions one-to-one with people, suddenly something will kind of shift, and I will channel things, and things will automatically download. And again, it's been all about sacred permission for me, like giving myself permission to allow that to happen without judging it, without asking why, without needing to know why. So biggest lesson of today. And so for today's meditation, I channeled an idea this morning when I woke up, and I messaged me when when it came through. I was like, it came through. I channeled something that I want to share. And this is usually how things happen. I don't prepare really anymore. I just kind of allow myself to be an open channel, to connect to the people that I am meant to connect with. In this case, it's all of you. And I'm just sharing it, passing it on. I'm just a messenger. So it's really all about, for you, taking what you need and leaving the rest. Like, I am not an authority on how you have to do this. I am not here to tell you how to do this. I'm just merely here to be a channel and to share with you what has come through. And I know in some way, shape, or form, something in there is going to help you. And if it doesn't, that's okay. You know, it's fine. I'm very much able to check my ego at the door and then move forward. So for today, what I wanted to do with all of you is more so visualizing rather than meditating, I want to say, although the two kind of go hand in hand. But it's something that I do with my clients one-to-one. I'm going to give a little bit of framework, because sometimes our minds and our egos want to understand. So to kind of put those at ease, I'm going to give a little bit of explanation, a little bit of framework, and then we can just kind of move forward from that. So the exercise that I want to do with you is rooted in Gestalt therapy. So it's all about really kind of stepping back from ourselves and observing and noticing what's going on. And then from that space, learning to accept what is, because that's the best way to really melt down any resistance that you're feeling towards a person, a situation, a goal that you want to achieve. And it's called future pacing. So what we're doing now, we're going to do a smaller exercise, because when I do this with clients, it sometimes takes up to 90 minutes. But what we're doing is we're going to create a little bit of an imaginary timeline. And I want to say, let's pick like maybe a month or 3 months, or maybe even 6 months into the future. And then in a minute, I'm going to guide you into how to do that future pacing. We're going to be thinking about something that we want to achieve, something that, you know, maybe we've been afraid of initiating and we want to move forward with. And we're going to slowly, gently put ourselves forward into the future, kind of having a look around, seeing what it's like there, so that you've already experienced it and you don't have to wonder anymore, like, what is it going to be like? And, you know, and how should I do this? And how should I do that? And we can let go of all of the hows of doing things and just kind of learning to embody that version of us that's already there. And then from there, in the present version of you, you will be able to really more quickly tune into your guidance, to your intuition, to God, whichever channel that you choose, and then move forward with the thing that you want to move forward with. So I just wanted to check in with everybody. How does that sound? Is that something that you feel like you want to do, or is there anything else that you need? Let me know.
I might have to catch the replay. I have a meeting at 1:30, so I might
Okay.
come down to about 20 after. So
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, I got yeah, like I have probably till about like 15 after as well.
Okay, gotcha. No problem. Yeah. Good. Okay. So are we ready to get started?
Yeah.
Cool. I just want to invite you all to kind of shift your energy a little bit because we've been having like really shake it off. We've been having like this really crazy conversation. Maybe if you want to stand up and be like, shake it off. That always helps. It's really, this conversation was really huge. So kind of want to shift into a new space. Okay, good. And then we want to do a little bit of tapping. Just tap on your collarbone or your chest or whatever feels good. Do a little tapping and say, I am worthy, I am worthy, I am worthy, I am worthy. You don't have to say it out loud. You can just think it. That's fine. Whatever feels comfortable. I am worthy, 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 I am worthy. Just do some tapping. You can do it all over your body if you want to, or just stay in the same space, just to kind of prime yourself for this experience, whatever that's going to look like for you. And then when we're done with that, I want to invite you to close your eyes. Roll your shoulders back. Tuck your chin in, creating a nice straight line all the way from the top of your head down your spine. Place your feet firmly on the ground. Feel the earth below your feet. And take a deep breath in through your nose to the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. And another deep inhale through your nose to the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And release out your mouth to the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. One more deep inhale, blowing your belly up. Take a deep breath in to the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release out your mouth. Deep exhale. Let it all go. Feel the earth beneath your feet and imagine roots like the roots of a tree coming out of your foot soles and out of your tailbone and planting deep into the earth beneath you. And without forcing it, push your roots deeper and deeper, all the way through the earth's layers, all the way to its core, where you are able to tap into the earth's energy and draw it all the way back up through the roots, all the way up into your body, and just let it go wherever it needs to go in your body, in every muscle, cell, any space that needs this energy right now to help you stay grounded and to help you feel the love of the earth beneath us, to feel supported. Now I want you to imagine you're standing in front of a door. And just notice for a minute the shape of the door, the color, the material. If you're not seeing anything immediately, don't worry. Just know that your subconscious knows what to do. You don't really have to do anything, just listen to my voice and trust that your subconscious knows what to do with this information. Once you've taken a good look at the door, You're noticing that the door is opening up magically by itself. And you're stepping into a white room. And in the middle of that room, there is this beautiful, long, comfortable, fluffy couch. And you're walking over to that couch. And you're sitting down, and it feels so comfortable, so soft, so warm, so safe. You are safe here. You are safe. You are supported. Everything is okay, and everything is always working out for you. And you're just sitting down and chilling for a little bit, resting. And in front of you, there's this huge screen. And on that screen, you're going to see numbers appear. Numbers counting down, like when it happens at the movies, or at least in the old days, I imagine it was like that. And you're seeing the number 10 appear. And as soon as you see the number 10, you feel a little bit more relaxed. 9, even more relaxed. 8, deeper into your relaxation. 7, 6, 5, even more relaxed. 4, more relaxed. 3, 2, and 1, total relaxation. Total relaxation. Now, on the other side of the room, to your left, a wall is opening, and your couch that you're still sitting on is floating outside. With you on it, you still being relaxed, fully relaxed, deeply relaxed, completely safe. And this couch is floating to a point in the future. 1 month from now, maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months. Just notice what point in the future you are floating to. Don't overthink it, just let it happen. You don't have to force anything. This is just all part of a subconscious process, and you're just along for the ride. You're going to notice that your couch is going to come back down and land. You're going to stay seated, and you're going to take a look around. Where are you? What point in time are you? 1 month, 2 months, 3 months? What does your environment look like? Do you hear anything? Is it light or dark, warm, or a little fresher? And then suddenly you notice a bridge appears right in front of you. And I am now inviting you to stand up from your couch, walk over to the bridge, and suddenly you notice that the future you, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months from now, is standing on that bridge. And they are asking you to come on over, walk on over. And so you do. You walk over to your future you. And you're having a conversation with them. What is it that you want to know from that future version of you right now? What question or questions do you have? Is there anything that you felt stuck on in these past months and that you need some guidance on? Is there any situation, person, or thing that you can't seem to resolve for yourself and that you would love to move forward with? Ask your future self. And take a little moment to notice what they are saying to you. Even if you cannot hear clear words, trust that the message is coming through. Trust that the message is coming through. And take another deep breath in and release. Really good. And just keep hanging on, hanging out with your future self. Just observe them whilst you're talking. How are they talking? What's their demeanor? What does their voice sound like? What do they look like? What are they wearing? Do they have anything with them? Like an accessory or a car or an animal or a person? Just take a little moment to observe and see and notice what comes through for you. Really good. And then once you feel complete with this conversation, hug your future self. Thank them for the conversation. And notice them telling you how you're always welcome to come back to this spot or whichever spot you choose and meet them and ask them questions and guidance on anything and everything. Nothing is off limits. This is you. This is future you. So it's safe to ask whatever you want. And then you turn around, you walk off the bridge, back to that white, huge, gorgeous, fluffy, comfortable couch. And you go sit down and you lean back. You take a last look around and take a deep sigh. And then the couch just floats up all the way back to that white room, landing back in front of that screen. And on the screen, you're seeing those numbers appear, counting you back up. 1, 2, coming back up. 3, 4, starting to become more aware of the space you're in right now. 5, 6, starting to wiggle your fingers and your toes. 7, 8, you're still safe, you're loved, you're worthy, worthy upon arrival. 9, 10, and you are back in the room, walking out the door, coming back to this space whenever you feel ready. Flutter your eyes open whenever you feel ready. And we are complete. I am seeing Zen faces. That's a good sign.
Is there such thing as Zen drunk?
Yeah, totally. There definitely is. I call it, I have that whenever I do meditations like this or when I activate my Merkaba, and it's like being in the 5th dimension. Everything looks clearer and sharper, you know? Yeah, Zen drunk. I love it.
I like that. Write that down. Too.
Such a good word.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Well,
I went trancy. I was there but wasn't.
That's good. That's the whole point.
I
The
almost
idea is
jumped. Nobody's gone. Like this. Where did I go?
who knows? In a different dimension, maybe.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah.
So the idea is that you can continue to practice this and then go further and further into the future. So as I said, usually when I do this with clients, like I'm there to guide the process. And then we're literally like walking along an imaginary timeline, and I'm there with them. When you're doing this on your own, I oftentimes recommend taking it step by step. Like now we went like a couple of months into the future. And once you feel like you get the hang of that, you can just go further and further. And you will notice when you go too far, it's all going to be not so clear anymore. You're not really going to be noticing anything that clearly. And then you'll know like, oh, maybe I'm going a little too fast, you know. But yeah. Oh, bye, Brooke. Oh, I'm too late. She's already gone. But thank you for joining, Brooke, if you watched the replay.
well, Judy's awesome. She I think she's still here on audio. So
Okay.
yeah. Oh, yeah, Judy has to run too. And
All right. Thank you, Judy. Thank you for
Yes.
joining.
Beauty.
Amazing. Thank you
but
so
everyone, thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for the meditation. And oh my gosh, I'll be sending out a follow-up message to all of you.
Yeah.
You have a link to the recording of our session today or our connection, as well as a link to Eline's
Bye, Terry. Thank you.
information link as well. So we call it gratitude certificate. It's everything in my world. So thank you again for your time, and hopefully I will see you again in the future.
Yes.
No pun intended.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for sticking it out so long.
Oh, great. Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.